The Galactic Dilemma. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with tension. Representatives from 100 different species filled the tiered seats, their voices a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and rumbles. At the center, on an elevated platform, stood High Counselor Zixnera, her iridescent scales shimmering under the harsh light of the chamber's central crystal. Silence. Zixnera's voice boomed, amplified by the chamber's acoustics. The noise died down, leaving only the faint hum of the station's life support systems. We face a crisis unlike any in our history. The Void Eaters advance, consuming entire star systems. Our finest minds have failed to find a solution. Our bravest warriors have fallen. We stand on the precipice of annihilation. Murmurs of despair rippled through the assembly. Zixnera's four eyes scanned the crowd, noting the slumped shoulders and downcast gazes. But she wasn't finished. There is, however, one option we have yet to explore, one species we have not called upon. A hush fell over the chamber. In the silence, a single word echoed: humans. Counselor Krelthor, a bulky creature with skin like weathered stone, lurched to his feet. Impossible. Those savages. They'll destroy us before the Void Eaters get the chance. His outburst sparked a flurry of arguments. Some counselors nodded in agreement, while others vehemently shook their heads, or equivalent appendages. Zixnera let the debate rage for a moment before raising her hand for silence. "I understand your concerns," she said, her voice soft, but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "Humans are unpredictable, volatile. Their history is stained with conflict. But they are also capable of remarkable feats, of ingenuity that defies our understanding. And most importantly, they have faced extinction before, and survived." The chamber grew quiet as the counselors pondered her words. Humans were a relatively new addition to the galactic community. Their homeworld, Earth, had been discovered only a century ago, and the species had quickly made a name for itself, for better or worse. Zixnera continued, "We've all heard the stories. How they repelled the Zarkonian invasion with primitive projectile weapons and sheer determination. How a lone human ship survived 3 cycles in the maelstrom, when our best vessels couldn't last a single rotation. They may be young, but they possess a tenacity that we, in our eons of peace, have lost. Counselor Iloxi, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pulsed with curiosity. But how can we trust them? Their emotions are erratic, their decision-making processes opaque to our finest xenopsychologists." "We don't need to trust them," Zixnera replied. "We need them to be exactly what they are: unpredictable, innovative, and utterly determined to survive. The Void Eaters have bested every strategy we've conceived. Perhaps what we need is a strategy we cannot conceive." The council chamber erupted into discussions once more. Zixnera let them talk, knowing that the seed of possibility had been planted. As the debate raged on, her mind drifted to the first time she had encountered humans. It had been at a diplomatic function, not long after Earth had been welcomed into the galactic community. A human delegate, Amanda Chen, if she recalled correctly, had approached her, eyes bright with curiosity. What had struck Zixnera wasn't the human's words, but her bearing. There was an energy about her, a barely contained excitement that seemed to radiate from every pore. "Your civilization is amazing," Amanda had said, gesturing at the gleaming spires of the space station visible through the viewport. "But I can't help wondering, what's next? What's out there that we haven't discovered yet?" That insatiable curiosity, that drive to push boundaries, it was something Zixnera hadn't seen in the older races for millennia. Perhaps that was exactly what they needed now. Her reverie was interrupted by Counselor Krelthor's gravelly voice. "Even if we decide to involve the humans, how do we approach them? They're not members of the council. They have no obligation to help us." Zixnera's mandibles clicked in what passed for a smile among her species. "We tell them the truth. We show them the threat. And then we do something no one in this chamber has ever done before." She paused, letting the suspense build. "We admit that we need their help. The silence that followed was profound. In all the eons of the Council's existence, they had always been the ones dispensing aid, sharing knowledge, guiding younger races. To reverse that dynamic was almost unthinkable. Almost. "I propose a vote," Zixnera announced, "to seek the assistance of humanity in our fight against the Void Eaters, to put the fate of our galaxy in the hands of the youngest spacefaring race we know." All in favor. Slowly, tentatively, appendages began to rise. Tentacles, claws, energy tendrils. A forest of affirmation grew in the chamber. It wasn't unanimous, but it was a clear majority. Zixnera nodded, a mix of relief and apprehension washing over her. "Then it is decided. We will send an envoy to Earth immediately. May the stars have mercy on us all." As the council session adjourned, Zixnera retreated to her private chambers. She activated her communication array, inputting the coordinates for Earth. As she waited for the connection to establish, she couldn't help but wonder, were they making the right choice, or were they merely exchanging one form of destruction for another? The screen flickered to life, revealing the face of the human ambassador to the Galactic Council. Zixnera took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Ambassador," she said, her translator converting her clicks and whistles into smooth English, "I bring grave news and an even graver request. The galaxy stands on the brink of annihilation, and we believe that humanity may be our last hope. Are you prepared to hear us out?" The human's eyes widened, a mix of surprise and determination crossing their features. "Counselor Zixnera," they replied, "you have our full attention. Whatever the threat, whatever you need, Earth stands ready to assist." As Zixnera began to outline the situation, she felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, this crazy gamble would pay off. The fate of the galaxy now rested in human hands, for better or for worse. Earth's unlikely heroes. The news of the galactic crisis spread through Earth's governments like wildfire. Emergency sessions were called, experts consulted, and heated debates raged in parliaments and congresses worldwide. But amidst the chaos, one truth became clear. This was humanity's chance to prove itself on the cosmic stage. In a nondescript building in Geneva, a group of Earth's finest gathered. They were an eclectic bunch, chosen not for their titles or accolades, but for their unique skills and unconventional thinking. Dr. Samantha Chen, quantum physicist and daughter of the legendary diplomat Amanda Chen, stood at the head of the conference table. Her eyes, sharp and focused, scanned the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of their task, "we've been called upon to save the galaxy." No pressure, right? A few nervous chuckles rippled through the room. Samantha activated a holographic display, showing a 3D map of the Milky Way. Red areas mark the progress of the Void Eaters. The situation is dire. These Void Eaters, as the Council calls them, consume entire star systems. They leave nothing behind. No matter, no energy, not even empty space. Just nothing. Captain Marcus Rivera, a veteran of Earth's fledgling space navy, leaned forward. "What are we dealing with here, Doc? Some kind of super-advanced alien race?" Samantha shook her head. "That's the thing, Captain. According to the Council's data, they're not sure the Void Eaters are alive in any conventional sense. They might be a natural phenomenon, or a weapon left behind by some long-dead civilization, or something else entirely." "Bloody brilliant," muttered Dr. Aisha Okoro, the team's xenobiologist. "We're up against the galactic equivalent of a black hole with an appetite." Ravi Gupta, a prodigy in AI and data analysis, raised his hand. "I've been going through the data the Council sent. There's a pattern to the Void Eaters movement, but it's incredibly complex. It'll take time to decrypt, even with our most advanced quantum computers." Samantha nodded. "Time is the one thing we don't have in abundance, Ravi. But do what you can. Every bit of information helps." The final member of the core team, Zara Nomura, sat quietly in the corner. A former Special Forces operative turned to diplomat. She had a reputation for thinking outside the box, way outside. "What if," Zura said, speaking for the first time, "we're looking at this all wrong? We're trying to stop them or destroy them. But what if the solution is to redirect them?" The room fell silent as all eyes turned to Zora. She stood, moving to the holographic display. "Look at the path they've taken. They avoid certain areas, here and here." She pointed to several locations on the map. "What if we could herd them, like sheepdogs guiding a flock?" Captain Rivera scoffed. "Herd them where?" "Into the next galaxy." Zara's eyes gleamed. "Into a place where they can't harm anyone. Or maybe even somewhere they could be useful." Dr. Okoro leaned back, a thoughtful expression on her face. "It's crazy, but it just might work. If we could find a way to influence their movement. We'd need to understand them better first," Samantha interjected. "And for that, we need to get close, really close." The implications of her words hung heavy in the air. Getting close to the Void Eaters meant risking total annihilation. But it was clear to everyone in the room. This was their best shot. "Right then," Captain Rivera said, breaking the silence. "When do we leave?" Samantha couldn't help but smile. This was humanity at its best, facing the impossible with determination and a hint of madness. "We leave in 48 hours. The Council is providing us with their fastest ship, equipped with their most advanced stealth technology." As the team dispersed to make preparations, Samantha felt a mix of excitement and terror. They were about to embark on a mission that could determine the fate of the entire galaxy. The pressure was immense, but so was the potential for discovery. Over the next 2 days, the team worked around the clock. Ravi's algorithms crunched through terabytes of data, searching for patterns in the Void Eaters' behavior. Dr. Okoro pored over xenobiology reports, trying to understand what, if anything, made these entities tick. Captain Rivera familiarized himself with the alien ship systems, while Zora developed contingency plans for every scenario she could imagine. Samantha split her time between coordinating the team's efforts and working on her own theories. The quantum nature of the Void Eaters fascinated her. They seemed to defy the laws of physics as humanity understood them. But every phenomenon, no matter how strange, had rules. She just had to figure out what they were. As the departure time approached, Earth held its breath. News of the mission had been kept under wraps to avoid panic, but rumors swirled. Humanity had faced existential threats before. Climate change, nuclear war, asteroids, but nothing on this scale. In the early hours of the morning, the team gathered at a secret launch facility in the Gobi Desert. The ship provided by the Galactic Council loomed before them, its sleek lines a testament to technology centuries beyond Earth's. High Counselor Zixnera herself had come to see them off. Her holographic form flickered slightly in the pre-dawn light. "On behalf of the Galactic Council and all sentient beings in our galaxy, I thank you for your courage," she said, her translator conveying the gravity in her tone. "The fate of countless worlds rests in your hands. May your journey be successful, and may you return safely with the knowledge we need to survive." Samantha stepped forward, representing the team. "High Counselor, we're honored by the trust you've placed in us. We can't promise success, but we can promise that we'll give everything we have to this mission. Humanity stands with the galaxy." As they boarded the ship, each team member felt the weight of responsibility settle on their shoulders. They were no longer just scientists, soldiers, or diplomats. They were the galaxy's last hope. The ship's engines hummed to life, a sound unlike anything Earth's spacecraft had ever produced. As they lifted off, breaking free of Earth's gravity with ease, Samantha looked out at her home planet growing smaller below them. "Well, team," she said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Let's go save the galaxy." The ship accelerated, faster than any human vessel had ever traveled. Stars blurred into lines of light as they entered hyperspace, leaving the solar system behind. Their destination, the edge of known space where the Void Eaters awaited. The greatest challenge humanity had ever faced lay ahead, but so did the greatest opportunity. To prove that despite their youth, despite their flaws, humans had something unique to offer the galaxy. As Earth faded from view, Samantha felt a surge of determination. They were diving into the unknown, armed with nothing but their wits, their technology, and their unwavering human spirit. The mission to save the galaxy had begun. Into the unknown. The journey to the edge of known space was a blur of hyperspace jumps and tense strategy sessions, as their ship, newly christened the HSS Curiosity, hurtled through the vast emptiness between stars. The human team worked tirelessly to prepare for their encounter with the Void Eaters. Ravi's fingers flew over holographic interfaces, his eyes darting between screens filled with complex algorithms. "I think I've got something," he announced on the 5th day of their journey. The team gathered around his workstation, curiosity peaked. "Look at this," Ravi said, pulling up a 3D model of the Void Eater's path. "There's a pattern in their movements. It's not random at all. They're avoiding certain types of celestial bodies, specifically systems with a high concentration of dark matter." Dr. Okoro leaned in, her brow furrowed. "That's fascinating. Could the dark matter be harmful to them somehow? Or maybe it's just indigestible," Zara quipped, though her eyes were serious. "If we can't destroy them, maybe we can use this to our advantage." Herd them away from populated systems. Captain Rivera nodded thoughtfully. "It's a start. But we need more information. How close are we to the nearest Void Eater activity, Samantha?" Dr. Chen consulted the ship's navigational system. "We'll be within observation range in approximately 18 hours, but to get the kind of detailed readings we need." She hesitated, knowing the risk she was about to propose. "We'll need to get much closer." The team exchanged glances, the gravity of the situation settling over them like a heavy blanket. They all knew the risks when they signed up for this mission, but facing the reality of it was something else entirely. "Well," Captain Rivera said, breaking the tense silence, "we didn't come all this way to admire the view from afar. Let's suit up and get ready for some close encounters." As the team dispersed to prepare, Samantha found herself drawn to the ship's observation deck. The view was breathtaking. Stars stretched out in every direction, more than she had ever seen from Earth. Somewhere out there, the Void Eaters were consuming entire star systems, and it was up to them to stop it. A gentle hand on her shoulder startled her from her reverie. It was Zora, her usually stoic face softened by understanding. "Quite a view, isn't it?" the former Special Ops soldier said. Samantha nodded. "It's beautiful and terrifying. All those stars, all those potential worlds, and we're the only thing standing between them and oblivion." Zara's grip on her shoulder tightened slightly. "That's why we're here, Sam. Because we're crazy enough to think we can make a difference. It's what humans do best, face the impossible and find a way through." Their moment of quiet contemplation was interrupted by the ship's eye. Approaching observation range of Void Eater activity. All personnel to stations. The observation deck was quickly transformed into a hub of activity. Screens flickered to life, displaying a dizzying array of sensor readings. And there, at the edge of their visual range, they saw it for the first time. The Void Eater defied easy description. It was like a tear in the fabric of space itself, a writhing mass of nothingness that seemed to devour light. As they watched, a small asteroid drifted too close. In an instant, it was gone, not destroyed, but simply erased from existence. "My God," Dr. Okoro whispered, her voice a mix of horror and fascination. "It's beautiful in a terrifying sort of way." Captain Rivera's voice came over the comms, tense but controlled. "All right, people, we need to get closer for detailed readings. Activating stealth systems now. Dr. Chen, Dr. Okoro, you're up. Get us everything you can on these things." The Curiosity edged closer, its advanced stealth technology making it virtually invisible. Samantha and Aisha worked feverishly, their instruments drinking in data about the Void Eater. "The energy readings are off the charts," Samantha muttered, her eyes glued to her screen. "It's like it's folding space around itself somehow." Aisha nodded, equally engrossed. "And look at the quantum fluctuations. It's as if it exists in multiple states simultaneously. No wonder our weapons can't touch it. How do you hit something that's everywhere and nowhere at once?" Their scientific fascination was abruptly interrupted by a shout from Ravi. "Energy spike. It's changing course. Heading right for us." The Void Eater, previously occupied with consuming a field of space debris, had suddenly turned its attention to the Curiosity. Despite their stealth technology, somehow it had sensed them. "Evasive maneuvers," Captain Rivera barked. The ship lurched as it veered away, but the Void Eater was faster than anything they had anticipated. Alarms blared throughout the ship as the entity closed in. Samantha felt a chill run down her spine as she watched it approach on the view screen. This was it. They were about to be erased from existence, their mission a failure before it had truly begun. But then, something unexpected happened. As the Void Eater drew near, it suddenly recoiled, as if repelled by an invisible force. It writhed in space, seeming almost confused, before retreating back to its original course. For a moment, the bridge was silent, save for the sound of racing heartbeats and ragged breathing. Then, Zora's voice cut through the tension. "What the hell just happened?" Samantha's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle. "The dark matter," she said, her voice growing excited. "Ravi, check the ship's composition. The Council must have built it with dark matter shielding." Ravi's fingers flew over his console. "Confirmed. The hull is laced with an exotic material. It must be their equivalent of dark matter. They gave us a defense against the Void Eaters without even telling us." The realization sent a wave of renewed hope through the team. They weren't helpless after all. They had a shield against the Void Eaters' hunger, and possibly the key to controlling them. "All right, team," Samantha said, a newfound determination in her voice. "We've got our first real breakthrough. Let's make it count. Ravi, I want complete analysis of that dark matter shielding. Aisha, let's dive into these sensor readings. Captain, can you get us back into observation range?" As the Curiosity cautiously maneuvered back towards the Void Eater, the mood on the ship had shifted. The initial terror had given way to a buzzing excitement. They had faced the impossible and survived. More than that, they had gained crucial information. Samantha looked around at her team, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes that she felt herself. They were no longer just observers. They were active participants in a cosmic drama, armed with knowledge and the uniquely human ability to think outside the box. As they settled in for another round of observations, now armed with their newfound knowledge of the dark matter shielding, Samantha couldn't help but feel a spark of optimism. They were still far from a solution, but they had taken the first step. And sometimes, that first step was all it took to change the course of history. The mission to save the galaxy was far from over, but for the first time since they left Earth, it felt truly possible. The human team, against all odds, was making progress, and they were just getting started. Human ingenuity unleashed. The days that followed their close encounter with the Void Eater were a whirlwind of activity aboard the HS Curiosity. The team worked around the clock, fueled by a potent mixture of caffeine, adrenaline, and the newfound hope that their mission wasn't as impossible as it had first seemed. Samantha and Aisha pored over the sensor data they had gathered, looking for any clue that might help them understand the nature of the Void Eaters. Ravi delved deep into the ship's systems, studying the dark matter shielding that had saved their lives. It was Zora who first voiced the idea that would change everything. "What if," she said during one of their strategy sessions, "we're not just looking at a shield, but a weapon?" The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. Captain Rivera was the first to respond. "Explain." Zara stood, moving to the holographic display that showed their sensor readings of the Void Eater. "We've been thinking defensively, trying to find a way to stop these things. But what if we could turn their own nature against them? She manipulated the display, zooming in on the area where the Void Eater had recoiled from their ship. The dark matter doesn't just repel them, it disrupts them. What if we could use that disruption to, I don't know, tear them apart? Samantha's mind raced with possibilities. Or better yet, what if we could use it to control them? Like a cosmic shepherd's crook. The team spent the next several hours brainstorming, their excitement growing with each new idea. By the time they broke for a much-needed rest, they had the beginnings of a plan. The next few days were a frenzy of activity. Ravi and Samantha worked on modifying the ship's dark matter shielding, turning it into a directional projector. Captain Rivera and Zora plotted a course that would take them to the heart of Void Eater territory, where they could test their theory on a larger scale. Dr. Okoro, meanwhile, made a breakthrough of her own. I don't think the Void Eaters are conscious, at least not in any way we understand, she announced one morning. They're more like cosmic antibodies. Antibodies? Samantha asked, intrigued. Aisha nodded, pulling up a complex chart on her tablet. Look at their behavior patterns. They're not hunting or feeding. They're reacting. It's as if they're trying to eliminate something they perceive as a threat to the fabric of space-time itself. This revelation added a new dimension to their plan. If the Void Eaters were some kind of natural phenomenon, perhaps they could be redirected rather than destroyed. Finally, after what felt like weeks but had only been days, they were ready to put their plan into action. The Curiosity approached a system that was in the path of an advancing group of Void Eaters. This is it, people, Captain Rivera said from the bridge. Everything we've worked for comes down to this moment. Are we ready? Samantha looked around at her team. Despite the exhaustion evident on their faces, there was a fire in their eyes. They were ready. Initiating dark matter projection, Ravi announced, his fingers dancing over the controls. A beam of invisible energy shot out from the Curiosity, aimed at the approaching Void Eaters. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly but surely, the Void Eaters began to change course. It's working, Zora exclaimed, her usual composure cracking in the face of their success. But their celebration was premature. As they continued to project the dark matter beam, the Void Eaters' behavior became erratic. They writhed and convulsed, as if in pain. Something's wrong, Samantha muttered, her eyes fixed on the readings. The dark matter isn't just repelling them, it's destabilizing them. Before their eyes, the Void Eaters began to break apart. But instead of dissipating, each fragment grew, becoming a new Void Eater. Shut it down, Captain Rivera ordered. Shut it all down now. But it was too late. The fragmented Void Eaters, seemingly enraged by the attack, surged towards the Curiosity. The ship rocked violently as they impacted the hull, the dark matter shielding barely holding. We need to get out of here, Zara shouted over the blaring alarms. Maximum thrust. Now. The Curiosity shot away from the angry swarm of Void Eaters, its engines straining under the sudden acceleration. They didn't stop until they were well clear of the system, the Void Eaters nothing more than angry pinpricks on their long-range sensors. In the aftermath of their failed attempt, the mood on the ship was somber. They had been so close, only to have their plan backfire spectacularly. We made it worse, Samantha said, her voice hollow. We didn't just fail to stop them, we made more of them. But Aisha shook her head, a thoughtful expression on her face. Maybe not. Remember what I said about them being like antibodies. What if this is part of their natural cycle? Explain, Captain Rivera said, echoing his earlier command to Zora. In a biological system, when antibodies encounter a strong pathogen, they often multiply rapidly to combat the threat, Aisha explained. What if we just triggered their natural response to a perceived threat? Ravi's eyes widened as he caught on. So if we could find a way to trigger that response in a controlled manner, we could lead them anywhere we wanted, Zora finished, the spark of hope reigniting in her eyes. Samantha felt a smile tugging at her lips despite their recent setback. This was what humans did best: learn from failure, adapt, and try again. "All right, team," she said, her voice strong and determined. "We've got work to do. Let's figure out how to turn this setback into an advantage." As they set about analyzing the data from their failed attempt, Samantha couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. They had faced near destruction, seen their carefully laid plans fall apart, and yet here they were, already working on a new solution. The galaxy might not know it yet, but humanity's greatest strength was about to be unleashed. The ability to face the impossible, fail, and get back up swinging. The Void Eaters had no idea what they were in for: a new galactic order. The next few days aboard the HSS Curiosity were a blur of activity. The team worked tirelessly, fueled by their recent discovery and the pressing need to find a solution before more star systems fell victim to the Void Eaters. Samantha and Ravi focused on modifying the dark matter projector, fine-tuning it to emit pulses rather than a continuous beam. Their theory was that short bursts might trigger the Void Eater's multiplication response without causing them to attack. Meanwhile, Aisha and Zara pored over star charts, looking for a suitable location to test their new strategy. They needed somewhere isolated, with minimal risk to populated systems if things went wrong again. Captain Rivera kept them all going, managing the ship's resources and keeping them focused on their goal. His steady presence was a constant reminder of the billions of lives depending on their success. Finally, after what felt like an eternity but was only a matter of days, they were ready. "We're approaching the target system," Captain Rivera announced, his voice tense but controlled. "This is as good a testing ground as we're going to get. A dying star, no planets, minimal traffic. If this goes south, damage should be contained." Samantha took a deep breath, steeling herself. "All right, let's do this. Ravi, start the pulse sequence." The ship hummed as the modified dark matter projector came to life. On the view screen, they watched as a small group of Void Eaters approached, drawn by the dying star's energy. "Pulse in 3, 2, 1. Mark," Ravi called out. A brief flash of energy, invisible to the naked eye, but clear on their sensors, shot out towards the Void Eaters. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, just as before, the entities began to divide. "It's working," Zara breathed, her eyes fixed on the screen. "They're multiplying, but they're not attacking us." Indeed, the newly formed Void Eaters seemed confused, milling about in space without purpose. Samantha felt a surge of excitement. "Ravi, send another pulse. Let's see if we can guide them." Another burst of dark matter energy, this time aimed slightly to the left of the Void Eater swarm. To their amazement, the entities moved away from the pulse, clustering together as if for protection. "We did it," Aisha said, her voice filled with awe. "We can herd them." The bridge erupted in cheers, the team's excitement palpable. But Samantha knew their work was far from over. "This is just the beginning," she said, her voice cutting through the celebration. "Now we need to figure out where to lead them." It was Zora who provided the answer. "What about the galactic core?" she suggested. "It's mostly uninhabited, full of dark matter that they seem to avoid naturally. If we can lead them there, we could trap them." Samantha finished, nodding in agreement. "It's risky, but it might be our best shot." With a plan in place, they contacted the Galactic Council. High Counselor Zixnera's holographic form flickered to life on the bridge, her multiple eyes widening as they explained their discovery and proposed solution. "This is unprecedented," Zixnera said, her translator barely keeping up with her rapid clicks and whistles. "To think that you've accomplished so much in such a short time. The Council will need to discuss this, but I believe we will approve your plan." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The Council dispatched a fleet of ships equipped with dark matter projectors based on the Curiosity's design. Under the guidance of Samantha and her team, they began the monumental task of herding the Void Eaters towards the galactic core. It was slow, painstaking work. More than once, they nearly lost control of the swarm. But bit by bit, system by system, they made progress. As they worked, something unexpected began to happen. The various races of the galaxy, many of whom had been skeptical or even hostile towards humanity, started to change their tune. Word of the humans' ingenuity and determination spread, and soon ships from dozens of species were joining the effort. Finally, after months of tireless effort, they'd reached the galactic core. In a carefully coordinated maneuver, they used the dark matter projectors to create a barrier, trapping the Void Eaters in the inhospitable region. As the last of the entities was corralled, a cheer went up across the entire fleet. They had done it. The galaxy was saved. In the aftermath of their victory, the political landscape of the galaxy shifted dramatically. Humanity, once seen as upstarts barely worth notice, was now hailed as saviors. The Galactic Council extended an invitation for Earth to join as full members, a process that usually took centuries. But perhaps the most profound change was in how the various races of the galaxy viewed themselves and each other. The Void Eater crisis had brought them together in a way nothing else had, forcing cooperation and fostering understanding. As the Curiosity made its long journey back to Earth, Samantha found herself on the observation deck once more, staring out at the stars. Zara joined her, a comfortable silence falling between them. "We did it," Zara said finally, her voice soft. "We really did it." Samantha nodded, a smile playing on her lips. "We did. But you know what? I don't think this is the end. I think it's just the beginning." Zara raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what do you mean?" "Look at what we accomplished," Samantha said, gesturing at the star-filled void before them. "We faced an impossible threat and found a way through. We brought the entire galaxy together, and we've only just started exploring what's out there." She turned to face Zora, her eyes shining with excitement. "There are more mysteries out there, more challenges to face, and now we're not facing them alone. We're part of something bigger." Zara smiled, nodding in understanding. "A new galactic order." "Exactly," Samantha agreed. "And humanity's going to be right at the heart of it." As the Curiosity sped towards Earth, carrying its crew of unlikely heroes, the galaxy buzzed with excitement and possibility. The Void Eater crisis had been averted, but more importantly, it had ushered in a new era of cooperation and exploration. Humanity had proven its worth among the stars. And this, they all knew, was just the beginning of their cosmic adventure.